Welcome back to Pillars of Eternity. So I fucked up with my saves. So yeah. Here's the thing. We are probably gonna fail this fight a lot. So I've read up on some strategies because everyone's just like, create a save before you jump into the hole. I don't have a save at that point, so yay. So we're essentially going to be grinding out this fight in this context with these heroes at this level, and pray that we can do it. Now I think it's possible, but we just need to utilize stuff now. So it's time to open up our potions. And stuff that we have. Sort by item type. Okay. So is there a way to... Then... Okay. Get that. Okay, and then... switch over to you. Spoonwell. Anyway, okay, so that could work as well. Maelstrom. Paralysis. Revival could be useful. What's that? Crush and AoE. No. Hidden Wonders. Okay, so that should be... Okay. Alright.
What is it?
Time to modify. So, you... We're gonna deviate, like, split them up. Like this. Okay.
As you wish.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen?
Okay.
I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. If you do not, you will have greater powers than you. I wouldn't ask this were there any other choice.
This is a...
You are ready to give a confession?
Okay, so hopefully we can. Everyone's arrested. So here's what we do: we hit save here. Fight. We'll just have a new save for that. Okay. You two over here. So we want you to head over here. You to head here. You to head here. You to head over here. And then you there. You there. You there.
I'm ready to hear one.
Woo! Everyone leveled up? Ooh. Okay, you're survival. Swift aim. Takedown. Knocking it prone. That could actually work. Master's call. Or cooler ranges and species cause it to move back. Revive. Level 11. So everyone's just like level 12 was actually the perfect spot, so because they're all level 11. Actually, we're going to save at this point as well. Athletics. And then Chain Lightning. Well, actually, Gaze of the Adron. Yep, we want Petrification. What's that? AoE, yep. Binding Web. Knock them. Keep those people locked down. Survival. The monk becomes capable of projecting force with his long range. Damage reduction per wound. Actually, that could be useful. We're going to save at this point as well. You get this. Go over here. Bloodthirst. Recover immediately. No. Eye of the Storm. Cannot be engaged by enemies more than one level below itself. Heart of Fury. Vengeful Defeat. You know what? AoE full attack. Threatening presence, actually. What could that passive? Oh, yes. Okay, and then you get up the survival. Disintegration. Mind Plague. Dazed, confused. Actually, that could work. Those two. Okay, we hit save. Okay.
From you.
There we go. Just come to circular room. Yep.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here?
Was she telling the truth?
That woman sought only to destroy the foundations of peace and civility. It has many uses.
Destruction and
but it's-
chaos.
We are in a sanctum of... They are
We're just rushing through this because we've already done this before. Are there no gods? Are there no gods? Okay. There are no gods. Really? We did all that setup for nothing?
How did you find it? Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my father. What of your cohorts, then? You have devoted your...
I thought your people had much to teach us.
And did you ever consider that these were things... The leaden key exists. Greater civilization. State your name and purpose.
My name, but
You served...
and I should have done it.
And that uncertain... I am told you are the last of a great...
As are you.
But my line will continue.
My line is not ended. Will I...
Your master's knowledge... And the
Last I checked.
There is...
Then you.
Or perhaps you are... I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think... I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. The spread of the heart of... When plague arrived at the
I don't
great
see how the
city of
most concern of
Oberonsis.
this.
Precisely. There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed only... But all that changed when they learned of the truth and replaced it with one... Have you imagined this? But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mist... For all I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this court. We are all controlled with yours. Hear me, Woodica.
I don't like how this happened. Because now I need a pause and we need to get our guys to move. Okay.
Your
You
thoughts must
move
flow
over here.
deeply indeed.
You hit here.
Zawa
you
is
hit
ready.
here.
Yes?
You go over here.
Yes.
You over here.
How
You
may I
over
help?
here. And then
Brave thou not believe.
Enough of this.
get to that one. Okay. Everyone target that.
Tell me. I'm here.
That's it.
So much for you.
How may I help? That's not very helpful.
Uh-huh. This is getting nowhere. Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed.
Following your...
That didn't work.
Oh.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
That's not.
Because you destroy this one, we might be able to do this. Wait, maximum endurance. That's the one we need to drink.
Following your lead.
Let's try that again.
Worthy vain on...
Now we hit the one with the soul.
Crave.
Does she have... Come on, drink. Are you drinking it?
much.
That's it!
Following your lead. Worthy maid,
Okay, and then we do this, this, this.
Love.
That's it!
You. Can you get into range for disintegration?
Following your lead. Worthy maid,
Him. Petrification. Isaac Agon.
prisoners.
Moeth Ixie
You should save the pain. Kill them all. Bring them down. Following your lead.
Aye?
Stand.
Yes?
My thoughts were
Yes.
dulled.
Oh, thank wood.
Yes?
Okay, then you. Whoa. What's is it says enemies? Yeah, okay.
Ah, thank wood.
Pray.
I'm here.
And then okay. I haven't planned for this to be working so well. He's healed up. Okay.
Yes. Pray.
I shall deal with this one. I shall... I'll deal with this one.
Oh, thank wood and wood.
Following your lead. Following your lead.
Oh, thank wood and wood.
Ixmaru! Following your fortune.
Missed!
Yes?
You need to disengage. Disengage mirror image. Disengage, disengage. You two hit.
Wish you no.
Come on.
My thoughts are dulled.
Riff! These are... I shall do...
Okay.
Let's... How may I help? These ones are in... Curses. I have...
Yes! Oh my god. I don't know what we're going to do for the rest of the things. At your feet rests the body of Theos, hollow. The dense wrinkles shaped by the silent soldering of an eternal burden now smoothed across his colour-drained face. His soul remains still, for a moment, defenseless, its energy expanding in defeat. It lies sprawled across his body like a death shroud.
All those lifetimes spent to preserve a single vital secret. I would expect a man to reconsider his choices after the first 500 years.
Thousands of souls he has tortured. Would that he could live those sufferings 1,000 times himself.
He spent his lives, more than any of us will ever know. For what? Binding the world to a lie. Could a man like that ever be redeemed?
This man held to the world harder than any I have known. His suffering was plain to see.
Can't help but feel sorry for him. To live so long without a fresh start, with no chance to wonder what's around the corner.
Within a deep breath, you plunge into Theos' soul, and where in Blackenberry it had been a maze of narrow corridors and dead ends, now it is expansive and borderless, its walls crumbling into heaps like the ruins of Engreth as you pass through them. You travel for what seems like ages, rushing to a known destination, a memory you glimpsed once before. At least you see it, no more than a pinprick of light at the end of the long tunnel, expanding slowly at first, then quickly as you near. You come out in the room you are standing in now, but it is new, pristine, and filled with people, thousands of them, all turned towards the great Adra pillar, the machine that encases it. Theos stands at the machine, and you are one with him now. You look at the crowd, at faces of shriveled old men and cherub-cheeked little girls, at mothers bouncing infants to quiet them, and fathers clasping their children's restless hands and watching you with somber acceptance. A woman with tears in her eyes gives you a small nod. You turn back towards the machine, your breast constricted beneath the weight of unwanted knowledge. Prepare yourself to set out alone on a journey without end. You close your eyes and open them again to find the machine still in front of you, beckoning. You take your place in front of it, place your hands upon a large mechanical disc at the base of the great crystal column, and speak a single word. Giant rings crack to life, building speed, setting arrays of card draconic mouse aglow and sending tremors through the platform beneath you. The entire room shakes now with a force of accelerating machine, all sound drowned out by its deep, deafening thrum. Brilliant tendrils of light arc outward from the pillar in all directions, and you look over your shoulder to see them, engulfing the crowd, burning them brightly like hot iron. One by one the tendrils disappear, leaving ashen figures where people once stood. Many of them disintegrated into grey heaps under the stress of the tremors. You look above the Adra pillar, and the glowing spherical mass has begun to coalesce atop the column where the arcs converge. It grows and pulses, translucent and bulbous, like some immense crystal is suspended in slow rotation. as though it were being spun from the arcs of light. When the last arc disappears, the spectral mass hangs a moment, no longer rotating, so bright you must shield your eyes with the outstretched hand, and it seems to you as though it is looking at you. You bow your head in acknowledgement and look back to see it melt into the pillar like warm candle wax. The pillar flares with a flash of light, bright as the sun itself, then fades to darkness. The machine slows down to an abrupt halt. When the last echo of its grinding cogs has passed, the chamber is still, and you are alone. From all sides, reality begins to bleed in through the memory, and find yourself in your own skin once more, looking down at Theos's lifeless body. You sense a blissfulness to Theos' soul, an overwhelming fatigue that hinders its immediate escape and makes it vulnerable to manipulation. You feel as though your victory is giving you some kind of hold over it, and you're able to do it with as you please. You remember this, Theos. Remember that no man can hide the truth forever, and all you've done was done to feel your image shall be your penance. I do not envy you, Theos. No, banish yourself. No, destroy all memories contained within. Your memory makes you a slave to your own past. Perhaps it can't be undone, but it can be forgotten. It shall trouble neither of us any longer. Destroys memories.
You are kinder to that man than I would have been.
That even a man like Theos should have a second chance. Well, that gives me hope for the rest of us.
You return to the landscape of Theos' memory, to the vast train of deceptions and crippling despair, and you feel your agency in this world now, an ability to reshape it to the whims of your dominant will. You focus on the vision of pure emptiness, and your will becomes a swirling vortex around you, sweeping through the landscape and bearing away moments and lifetimes like some apocalyptic bioeck that would tear away the essence of the planet itself. The storm builds until the very crust of the world peels from the fabric of the soul that anchored it, and it is borne off into the sky until it is too distant to observe. The last thing you see is a white void, boundless in all directions, unfettered by the shackles of experience and doubt. In the stillness that follows, a single word echoes through your mind, a word you spoke when you were one with Theos in an ancient memory. You realize it is the word that activates the machine. Ooh, now we have a decision.
Indeed.
With your companions bearing witness, you step to the place where Theos once stood before his people longer. The great machine lies in front of you, idle, ready. You have seen this machine and others like it in operation. You understand how it works. It is a device for directing souls. As a watcher, it would be a simple matter to influence that direction, though as big as the machine is, it may be the last thing you ever do. Speak the command to activate the machine. There is a shrieking of stone grinding against stone as old cogs loosen and begin to turn. You only have moments before the souls will be sent into the Adra vein. This will be your only chance to redirect and send the souls back into the reincarnation cells to the bodies they were intended for, and sharply disintegrate the souls ending their existence, strips the essence of existing cells, return them back to the cycle. You close your eyes and expand your perception outward, taking in the immense totality of the tens of thousands of souls orbiting the chamber. You grasp on the souls as tenuous. You find yourself fighting to keep them all within your influence, and you can feel them slipping away from you as the machine gains speed. A brief moment comes when it feels as though you hold all of them at once, and their force is so great it feels as though they'll tear you apart. In that moment, you dedicate your entire being to bending their orbit, channeling their flow in a new direction. Wow.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow,
and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Deerwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the lost souls of the Hollowborn were funneled back into the churn of Bareth's wheel to find their way into new vessels and partake in the life they had been denied during Whitewind's legacy. Though parents of Hollowborn would remain just that, the end of Whitewind's legacy would bring about a spate of new, healthy births, with many of the infants bearing souls once meant for Hollowborn children. The natural cycle of life and death had been restored to Deerwood, and with it came a renewed faith in the providence of the gods. Though you had killed Lord Radric in his throne room, so strong was his drive to rid his land of Eothasians that he returned to life as a death guard, a deathless crusader for his brutal cause. With the remains of his humanity stripped away, Radric came to see all the people of Gilded Vale as worshippers of Eothas, and one day he led his forces into the village personally to see them all purged from his lands. Gilded Vale was left a hollow shell, its buildings ruined, and its people slaughtered. Even travelers and would-be squatters knew better than to take refuge inside its borders. Lord Radric returned to Radric's Hold, where he remained, keeping eternal watch over his barren domain. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But once the dozens had regrouped in the wake of the riots, they quickly put an end to the criminal activity, patrolling the streets in droves and administering their brand of law on any perceived offenders. They also took the opportunity to depose the weakened Knights of the Crucible from their position of authority, branding them traitors to the people for their actions during the riots. Whatever knights weren't stoned to death in front of their keep were forced into exile. The external contingent of knights stationed at Fleetbreaker Castle would remain there, their high justice plotting the city's recapture. The dozens would soon find themselves overwhelmed by the problems of a leaderless metropolis, and in the days and months ahead, Defiance Bay remained on the brink of collapse. Though the machine atop Ter Noaneth had been disabled, it had not seen its last use. Heritage Hill was rebuilt, and no sooner had the first families moved in to resettle the district than members of the Leaden Key, acting under standing orders from their Grand Master, climbed the tower and reactivated the machine. The initiates slew a handful of the new settlers under cover of night and watched as history repeated itself, the victims reanimating and devouring the survivors. After this second incident, the district would remain abandoned. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an Animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay, and few Animancers survived the first day. Many Deerwoodens took the end of Widewind's legacy as a sign, both that the gods did not approve of animancy, and that the purging of Animancers in Defiance Bay had been enough to satisfy them. In time, their rage would subside, and a number of surviving Animancers remained in and around Defiance Bay, often taking to the wilds to practice their science without repercussions. The town of Deerford had seen the last of the cult of Scan. Dark rumors about the town's many curses quickly faded, and travelers soon returned. Maneha never found the Salt Well, but she found a kind of peace in her duties as a gift-bearer, and in the ebb and flow of her journeys. As she traveled and accepted burdens from Andra's supplicants, she saw in their eyes a kind of peace that she had not previously noticed. It was faith, not that Andra had freed them of their pain, guilt, and regret, but that she would, a little more each year. With that realization, Maneha learned to accept that Andra's ways were as gradual as they were inexorable. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every Thane and Earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. When the dust settled in Sun and Shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grandmaster had gone wrong and what would be required to undo the harm Theos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Theos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. With both their aims fulfilled, Kanarua bid the Watcher farewell and sailed back to his beloved Rawatai. There, he came before the Lore College, determined to guide his people down a better path. Before his intrigued peers, he spoke of the accomplishments of the great people of Engwith and their efforts to bring peace to Rawatai and the myriad cultures of Eora. He presented the shattered tablet as proof of the Tonvi Oratoa's existence beyond Rawatai's borders and the shared ideals of Eora's peoples. Kana called for a new age in Rawatai culture, where his people might take their place at the forefront of progress and pave the way toward a better future. Kanarua's speech proved inspiring, and his voice came to be considered an influential one in the push toward continued progress in the northern continent. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. Pleasant and peaceful memories rose to fill the cracks in the grieving mother's mind. She returned to the birthing bell, unaware that the village nearby had become an empty desolation in her absence. Thus she began her tireless vigil atop the Adra, awaiting mothers and children who never came. You and Sagani never found Persok together. The Adra figurine had gone dark by the time they emerged from Sun and Shadow, and it was another month before Sagani finally accepted that Persok's trail had gone cold again. Her search took her beyond the Deerwood and as far as the Living Lands. She saw the great coastal cities of Rawatai and the ruins of Old Valia, absorbing the details of these strange and distant lands. 20 years passed before the Adra figurine finally glowed again. When it did, she followed its signal to a quiet hamlet on the outskirts of Adir. There, she met a young farmer and told her of her past as an elder of Masuk. Sagani returned to a village that had forgotten her face, but remembered her story. Masuk greeted her with cautious warmth, and Sagani found that their ways had become strange to her. She also learned that Kalu had perished of winter fever a few years before, and her middle child, Najuo, had died in a raid. But she found her daughter Yakona a hunter and mother of 3, and her son Malak a builder of mighty walls. In them, she came to find her place in the village, and the familiar contours of a world that had changed in her absence. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.
So the side quests that we found, like we didn't actually do. We'll speed that up. Whee! Fast text. Yeah, that was actually a very interesting thing. I know that they've said there's very little that you can do afterwards, so this is actually going to be the end of the series, and I've got to figure out what to do next. Because I've got to record 3 episodes today. It's a lot of backers. Can we just exit? Yes, we can. Okay, cool. Alright. So, because, yeah, that's it. That's the end. Act 4, 4 months, 9 hours. 28:34. So that's 3 minutes, yeah. We're done. We're done. I hope you guys enjoyed. So essentially, what I learned here is you can't go back. And you're locked in. There's no play afterwards to finish the side missions or what. It's done and done. Story's over. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys for the next game in the series of It Is in My Library. It's been a while since I said the name of the series. Bye bye.